Good morning, folks. Rise and shine. It's going to be the Dr. Kent show right now this time. I'll do Awakening Israel in a little bit. Oh, yes. Come on up here. Oh, yes. She still got the cone on. Okay. All right. Protects me from those kisses. Yeah. Okay. Off. Lorraine, down. No, down. She's full of energy. Can't get any running in for a while. As I said, good morning. It's about 5:26 in the morning. Got up just before 5. To the sound of the rain, a real soft rain, and it is wet out there. I mean, it is flooding here almost. Matter of fact, maybe that's what's next, is flooding. I was fixing breakfast and my recovery drink for exercising today, and I realized that I was coming up and generating ideas, which if I'd have had the video going, the camera going and recording, some of those thoughts, some of that stuff that just passes are things I'd love to share with you. Lorraine, no, down, scratching with that thing on. She's got a bunch of stitches. I don't know how many. It's at least a 6-inch gash that looked like somebody tried to gut her. And it was just that the skin was off the cut wasn't down the middle of her. It was just off to the side and it flapped out. So it looked, oh God, I about lost it when I saw it. It was just really gross looking. It looked like the movie Alien, you know, where that little predator pops out of the abdomen, like, hey, mommy, here I am. Then goes running through the spaceship and becomes a big monster. Okay, it's an old movie now. Okay, I got you. This morning she greeted me much more enthusiastically. I don't know why, but it reminded me of my old dog. I used to always get up in the morning and say, where is my puppy dog? First thing I'd say in the morning, and wherever he was, he'd come running over, and I'd rub all over him, he'd, rub back, whatever. And I had a good time. Sometimes we would sing in the morning. He liked to howl, and we'd sit there together and howl together, and it was funny, but my dad started it. He and his friend Mikey, I don't know who Mikey was, when they were boys, used to do this with the dogs all the time. They would sit there and hold the dogs and start howling, and the dogs would eventually start to sing with them, start howling along with them. So he did that in the back seat with my dog, petting the dog and encouraging him. The darn dog started to sing. So that ended up becoming a tradition. The dog loved to howl, loved to sing. I mean, he really liked singing. So we would sing almost every morning, and when he got older, there was a lot of trouble with singing. Eventually, he couldn't sing it. His voice would crack. He just didn't have it in him. And that was one of the things that I was lamenting towards the end of his life. And yeah, I still miss him dearly, but you got to remember, and I got to remember, 15 years, 3 weeks, 3 months, 1 week, and 1 day. How's that for a lifespan of a dog? It's not bad. Especially for a Great Dane Black Lab mix. Great Danes only go about 8 years. I had this woman following me around in Costco one time, and, getting stalked's kind of creepy. And not that it's happened very often, Got stalked by a couple black guys off the subway once. They strong-armed me. Anyway, this woman's following me around in Costco, and nobody else is in the aisle, so it's pretty damn obvious we're in the back. Finally, she stopped me and says, can I ask you a question? And I said, well, yeah, sure. I mean, at that point, what do I do? And she says, I want to know what the dog was. And I told her what the dog was. She says, I thought so. She said she'd been breeding Great Danes in New York State for 40 years, and she hadn't been able to get past the 8-year mark. I hear that there's a Great Dane breeder in Las Vegas that takes a dog out to 15 years. Now, I don't want that big of a dog. I really don't. But the personality of a Great Dane is magnificent. I mean, they're very noble animals. They don't start fights. They just end them. They don't have to start them. They're so damn big. 175 for a big male? Oh, my God. Uh, they have a personality that is just beyond compare. I had no idea what they were like. My family pretty much always had black labs. And, I had a Cocker Spaniel once, and we had an Irish setter as well that used to walk us kids home from the bus. He would meet us at the school bus and make sure we got home safely. He was a big dog. Big dog. He'd stand on his rear legs and go eye to eye with my dad, put his paws on my dad's shoulders and lick his face. I mean, the dog was like 7 feet long, stretched out or something. It was a big dog. Red. Yeah. He got killed by a bus. The school bus ran him over, didn't see him. And we kids didn't get to see that. Family decided that wasn't something they wanted us to see. And I barely remember the dog. That was in North Carolina, where I learned how to speak. I learned how to talk English with a southern drawl. My grandmother had a fit, up in Yankee Land, New Hampshire. My grandchildren can't talk with a southern drawl. She said, I can't imitate her, but that upset her tremendously. But as you can tell, it went away. Lay down. Get your bone. Get your bone. Hopefully she's open to that suggestion. One of the things that was passing my mind is that as I get my recovery drink ready, I was getting some bilberry to put a little dab off the tip of a teaspoon into the drink. I like bilberry, and I highly recommend it. My eyesight has gotten better with time. Last time I walked in to get my driver's license renewed, had to do the eye exam, and the young man looks up at me over the edge, looks at me from side to side, and he's got his face is all screwed up, and he finally demanded to know, are you wearing corrective lenses? And I said, no. He said, well, you're getting an unrestricted license then. And I was just happy. I held it to myself because my life, all my life, every one of my driver's licenses required corrective lenses since I was 14 and a half. And here I am. Of course, I walked out to the truck. My brother was in it waiting for me. And I told him, yeah, I'm getting better with age. I didn't have to have eyeglasses, so I don't wear them very much. I do better without them. I find that if you don't wear glasses, your eyes will naturally do better, especially if you're out in the woods, in the wild, focusing at different distances and different lengths. And if you're not under a lot of stress, that has a lot to do with the reduction of eyesight. But the corrective visions make you dependent upon them and make your eyes worse, in my opinion, from my experience across my life. I lost my glasses one summer when I was 12 years old. I lost them and went to Boy Scout camp, or lost them at Boy Scout camp. And for 3 weeks I had no glasses and everything was fuzzy. But I'm out there in the wilds. As a matter of fact, I think it was Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And had a great time in the canoes and out swimming. We had marksmanship going on. Of course, the Boy Scouts are no more because of the bullshit of the left. Yeah, they have to target anything good. You have to understand that this is not a simple war. This is a war to the fight to the end. This isn't just a war of being polite and accommodating them. Oh no, they're not stopping at that. They're going to kill us. You do not understand who your enemy is, and you don't know who the fuck you are either. Sorry for my French, but you need to understand something. You need to understand that the enemy knows who they are and they know who we are. And they're targeting us. So bilberry helps eyesight. Bilberry is quite good for the eyesight. I've got some bilberry leaf up there too. I will use that next because it's on there. Now what you need to know is that real medicine is in the plant leaves and not in the powders they refine. Because when they refine the powder, it actually becomes a poison and it becomes toxic and your body can't handle it. So you pay a price. We pay a price for every medicine as a result. And the insurance companies, well, it's not insurance, it's a benefit. They're all too willing and eager to help you out dying, help you out poisoning yourself. So the whole system is set up to shorten your life. The Bible says very clearly in the book of Genesis that a man's lifespan shall be limited from now on to 120 years. I don't think any of us are getting there. I heard of somebody lived to 145, been alive since before the Civil War. I've heard of that. I've heard of someone in China being alive for a long time as well. But I don't know that's factual. I don't know if I'd establish that as honest truth. So, back to the point. North America's got the best herbs in the world. That's what you need to turn to for your medicine. And the drug companies take the herbs and refine those and make those toxic for your bodies. When these things are in their natural state, your body knows what to do with it. You know exactly what to do with it. If we read the Bible, it says, every green leaf upon the river of life shall be food or medicine for the nations. And the United States has got the best herbs in the world. And they go after the herbal people. They made those illegal back when they decided to set up this medical monopoly, back when the Rockefellers decided to take the whole thing over and dictate. And that's what's going on with Obamacare. It's dictating as well. But we have the best herbs in the world because we have the greatest electrical storms on North America. There's a reason this was the wilderness and wasn't inhabited, because it was a pretty rough place. After the last Earth age in particular, this place was really in bad shape. This is the part that was facing the sun when it novaed last time. Micronova. Okay. What happens is the sun gets irritated from the space dust when we go through this part of our traveling around the sun. Another thing that happens is that we cross the equator, the Milky Way, and we change currents. The magnetic field of the galaxy changes currents above the Milky Way and below the Milky Way, and there's a bunch of eddies, if you will, swirls in the middle, and that's where the hell breaks loose. That also hits the sun with an incredible pulse of energy. And that energy may actually come from outside the galaxy in another part of the universe, in case you're wondering. And it might actually be focused on the Earth. We're not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. It comes from the astronauts. They could see that the Earth was held in a tractor field of light. A beam of light from the distance in the universe was holding the Earth in place. I don't know. I wasn't there. Haven't flown up there yet. Hey, Elon, when you going to give me a ride up in one of your machines? I promise I'll wear my seatbelt. Oh, boy. That would be so nice to take a look at it from space. I've only been up there a few times in visions, but I'd like to go up there physically, not just in dreams. So the bilberries helped my eyesight improve tremendously. I don't wear eyeglasses. Well, okay, you see me with these things on. That's one power reading glasses I've been wearing for the last 7 years, since I was age 63. Yeah. And I got another pair that I like better than these. But these are good for when I just want to use them and look over them. And they require me to wear eye protection at the range, so I put these stupid things on. So I don't have to look through them. I got to get good, no power glasses someday to do that. But we have some of the best herbs on the planet here in North America. And I had one of the best herbologists in the world until the feds scarfed him up before COVID to take him off the streets. Yeah, his treatment was so effective and so good, they had to get him out of the way before they did what they were going to do. So they targeted him and they put him away for 5 years in the pokey, I believe. I'm not sure about that. This system is corrupt. It needs to come down. Washington, D.C., it's going to become more irrelevant, and that's a good thing. The government should be chopped down. It's doing nothing but evil. Look at what the FBI does. Look at the CIA, what it does. Look at the Department of Justice. Look at the CDC. Look at the FDA. Look at this medical profession. It is all wicked. Welcome, folks, to the beast system. I know this isn't the Bible channel for you, but this is where you get the reality check. And I get to rant and rave and tell you about the philosophy and the stuff I want to talk about. Unless you want to give me some guidance and leave comments down below. Do like the video. If you really want to support me and if you want to defend yourself, then arm yourself up with the word of Yahweh. I won't use the word of God, because God came from a bad dude. And the Christians aren't ready to hear that yet. So let's keep it our secret. Well, if you want to know the full secret, God came from Gad. Gad was the nickname, the shortened name for Gadriel. Gadriel was the badass dude that seduced Eve or raped Eve, or we don't know what happened, except we know that Cain was the result of it. And you're dealing with the sons and daughters of Cain today on the planet. Those are the bad guys, okay? You are probably one of the good guys if you're watching this channel. The odds are, because there aren't that many of the bad guys. Oh, you stay right here with me. Yes, you're a very pushy bitch. Yes, you are. Good girl. Good girl, I know. Yeah. She's going a little stir crazy, and I got to call the vet and get her in. Damn emergency room, dog emergency room. They don't want to, they'll do follow-up, but they don't give it to you for free. But they want $250 for a follow-up that would take 2 minutes. All you needed to do was look at the little rash on her belly and tell me what the hell was going on and just see that everything was in good order. They don't even do that there. $1,200, $1,300 and no follow-up. I'm not going to recommend them. They can't even tell me how many stitches are in here. They won't even tell me if it's one cut or two cuts. At one time it looked like two cuts. I think it's just one cut, but they don't even tell me how many sutures are in there. Oh, you got to make an appointment at the vet to get the stitches out. Next thing I know when I call in, well, the sutures are underneath the skin and they're dissolving. So you don't have to have them removed. I'm sorry, it's a racket like everything else in this country, and Abraham Lincoln had one thing right, in particular, when he said the professions are turned upon the laity. The professions are turned against the laity. The professions, predator, are turned against the people in this country. You need to think of it that way. Real estate people, yeah, turned against the people. Everybody's got to make a profit off you, and they can't really be helpful. They have to maximize their profits. They have to think about only themselves. What a stupid, narcissistic place to live in. And you call this freedom? What kind of dumbass are you? This is not freedom. This is the best prison ever invented in mankind. This is the best prison system in the world. You call it the United States of America, and they even got a wall. Just like in Berlin, they put a wall up. And that wall's not there to keep people out. That wall is there to keep you in. You think I'm joking? Well, Alex Jones was good for a thing or two as well. I think he's a jackass. He makes conservatives look horrible. Should be banned from television until he minds his P's and Q's and maybe has to sit in the corner and read a book by Miss Manners. And he's been counterintelligence as far as I can tell. He's been on the other side as far as I can tell. He's funded by the other side. You don't get syndicated unless you've got the blessing of the you-know-whos. It's one of my problems with Dan Bongino. He worships those bastards, like most of you out there worship them, and they control this country. They've taken us over. They control all institutions. Everyone that Biden has appointed as administration is one of the you-know-whos. Who? What was that Dr. Zeus book? Maybe that was prophetic after all, huh? Folks, they have a death grip on our necks. They're going to take us down. They're choking the ever-loving, ever-living shit out of us. And they've reduced us. And they're going to keep doing it. They use their FBI to infiltrate or to create extremist groups. They create the opposite sides. And then they put them at each other, and they do their best to set up people to take them down. Do not talk to those sons of a bitches. Do not talk to those bastards. FBI shows up, decline to talk. Why? It's your only defense, because if you talk to them, they'll write it up and say you were lying to them and you'll go to prison. They can lie to you. They can lie to me. And that jackass Christopher Wray right now is over in the World Economic Forum. What the fuck is he doing over in the World Economic Forum? I mean, is he an ambassador? President? Does he decide public policy? Should be illegal for an American citizen to participate in the World Economic Forum. They are our enemy. Oh, now they want to take away your gas stoves in California. Oh, you people in California are so blessed. It couldn't happen to a nicer bunch. Great. The price for gas for the rest of the country will drop because you won't be using as much. All right. I'm looking forward to that. By the way, you want to know how this world makes oil? I'm going to tell you, oil is an insulator. It insulates the planet. It's like the insulation on a wire. Yes, it's insulation about electronics. And the oil has to be made. It's being made all the time. They go back to the old oil wells that they pump dry and they're full again. It's like a mineral. It's certainly not made from fossil fuels. It's the Earth's defense mechanism against the electronic fields in the universe, particularly from the sun. And guess what? We're going to have a whole lot more oil here in a couple of decades. Why? Because the sun's going to go do its thing again, and it's going to attack the Earth. And when it does that, the Earth is going to form up a lot more of what you jackasses, dumbasses call fossil fuels. Why do you call them fossil fuels? It's a marketing term. Oh, it's rare, it's precious. We're going to run out of it. We'll have to charge you more. I remember getting a $5 waste of finite resources ticket in Arizona. Jackass Navajo on the reservation in a Mustang had to give me a ticket. I had a down vest on and I was hot and I was taking it off. And I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I wandered across the yellow line. Nobody else is on the road. It's evening time. I'm out there on my Toyota Supra with my buddy. I just finished one of those little fun things that we do. We don't admit those. But my buddy tells me, he tells me I need to watch out. He understands that they use Mustangs for police cars or patrolling on the reservation, and I'll be damned. That's exactly what happened. And the guy was insisting I was drunk or something. I told him, no, I was taking my vest off in the car. You know, it was an awkward moment. I probably should have pulled over to do it, but so what? He insisted he had to give me a ticket. So he talked me into accepting a ticket from him for waste of finite resources. And he puts down on there AL for my state. That's how well Alaskans know. We're going to use AL for the abbreviation. And I looked at it and I thought, man, I should just ignore this thing and toss it away. It's not a ticket grounded in truth. Arizona's not a state grounded in truth. It's the worst state in the union. They think they're great. Look at their governor. It couldn't happen to a nicer group of people. The Californians have taken over Arizona. Arizona's pretty much gone. And they do it all illegally. They don't care how they win. They don't care if everybody knows they stole that office. All that matters is they get the office and they keep it. That bitch belongs in prison. 3 years from now, that'd be nice. It won't be the first governor seeing the inside of a prison, but it's sure going to be great to see her get her comeuppance. And by the way, it was Arizona that made sure that you got stuck with this bozo in the White House, the dumbest president in history. He has set this thing up in such a weird way. I mean, he even made boast in the 90s about how, what a jackass he is. I mean, he's not a statesman. He's an asshole. He walks into places and demands things, and he threatens things. He just went down to the Bahamas and demanded that a prosecuting attorney be fired, and he got it. He did that over in the Ukraine. If they don't get rid of this prosecuting attorney, then they're going to lose their $1 billion or whatever it was. They were $1 million or whatever. And 4 hours later, well, I'll be damned. Prosecuting attorney got fired. That's what Biden said. This guy should be thrown out. Actually, he should be probably put in diapers and put in a penitentiary somewhere. You know, someplace for old folks. He is dangerous. Don't you love it when a pedophile gets old and can't control themselves? And you can see them for what they are? Ain't no real men left in the country. They would have taken him out a long time ago. That's justice. We make sure they can never do that to a child again. That son of a bitch is still molesting girls and women. Man, one of the Secret Service agents was a female. And her husband punched Joe Biden when he was vice president. I'm sure he had it coming. They got rid of that Secret Service agent and get the husband away from her. But he's a horrible dude. He forces himself on other people. He forces them to see him in all of his glorious nakedness. While he goes out swimming, he's got his female Secret Service agents on duty. I'm sorry, that's combat duty. They should be getting paid wartime salaries, no taxes on it, double pay for doing that bullshit. This guy is horrible, but you deserve him as your president. We're sitting in a lousy place, folks. You want to know the truth? Oh, go get the Bible. Barack Obama told you. In his wisdom, they cling to their guns and their Bibles. Well, I'll bet you haven't even opened up a Bible and read it. You ought to read it. Just focus on one chapter. Well, actually focus on one book. Focus on the book of Genesis. Read that book. You're going to find it's actually got some incredible stuff in there. But you won't understand it very well because the scribes made sure to alter that son of a bitch. Yeah. If you know what you're reading, you will know who the enemy is and you will understand who you are. And you're going to understand what's next. And what's coming is not very pretty. We have about a half a dozen different days of the Lord. It's not just Jesus coming back on the hillside picking flowers. You need to read it. And the best Bible, my Bible. Links down below. 5 different formats. Go grab one of those. The cheapest price you're ever going to get ends in 77 cents. And this is the cheapest price anywhere. And you need to get these while you can because the prices are going to be going up at any time. So there won't be any cheaper. But the thing is that once these are sold, that might be it. You know, one of the things that's foretold in the Bible is that there will be a famine in the land. Not a famine of food, but a famine of the word of the Lord, the word of Yahweh. That's his real name, by the way. You need to learn it. You need to really learn his real name because they've got us all confused with the way they translated this Bible. They translated the word Lord for several other words. They translated the word man for other words, other species, if you will. They translated the word God for other gods. Sometimes it's referring to an evil one, and you can't tell unless you can get it into context, and it's hard to get it into context. We don't read it in the original language. We aren't in that culture. We don't understand those perspectives. And the coming war, the one that could happen any moment, it's in the Bible, written 2,500 years ago. There's a guy on the internet here, Rex Tibasaurus, did a 3-part video series. Was a nuclear war written about in the Bible 2,500 years ago? And the answer is yes. And once your eyes are open to it, you can't see it. Can we stop it? I think so. And you're going to say, well, gee, that's not believing in the Word of God. Well, my view of the Word of God is different. My view of the Word of Yahweh is different. I keep it flexible. Why? So I'm not subjected to the prevailing brainwashing of the culture that's even inherent in our very language that we use to speak and that we think in as well. So that is how tainted things are. You can't get away from the prevailing brainwashing. There's no way to. It is insidious. Insidious? I can't say it right this morning. What do you need to know? What do I need to tell you? You got questions? Put them down in the comments. Yes, I get off in tangents. I did the best radio shows off the top of my head. I was late for the show. I forgot about it. I was busy doing laundry. I like doing laundry. Don't get me wrong. I don't like it when it rains. I want to hang my clothes up in the sun. Solar power, disinfectant. Yeah, Mom did that all the time. When I was a little boy, a washer was just coming around as a machine back then, and they invented television that they used to control us all. The Germans invented it first to communicate with members of the other dimensions, with demons. So that's what the saying is. I don't know. I have no idea. I wasn't there. I don't know what their motivation was. Look it up and research it and put it in the comments. Somebody in the future is going to have fun with these, and they're going to be putting all kinds of stuff down in the comments. Might be more important than the videos that I make. I would hope so. I did not understand the limits of my education until I was grounded by a stroke. Actually, 2 strokes in 2006. Thanks in part to the Arizona Board of Psychologist Examiners. All of those boards are headed up by a bunch of commie bastards. These people are communists in their thinking and don't even realize it. They lack self-awareness, and most of them are mentally ill. They love power, and they exercise their power, especially over those who they consider conservatives. Dr. Peterson, he's going to lose his license. I had to lose my license. Actually, I kind of beat the board. I realized that I was never going to be able to defend my license against those dumbasses, and they weren't going to stop attacking me. I realized I was so far ahead of the curve in psychological treatments in my practice. I was so far ahead of them that I couldn't explain it to other psychologists readily. I had trouble myself understanding it and tracking it. It was happening so fast. Why? I said my prayers at that time. I said my prayers to Creator Father God. It was a simple prayer. Creator Father God, you know a man better than I can ever know a man. I mean, I can't really begin to understand a man, but you know a man better than I do. So show me, show me what I need to see. Show me what I need to know. Tell me what this man needs to hear now. And guess what? My prayers were answered in short order. And I was limited in the prisons to a very short session because the inmates would get anxious because they'd think that the other inmates would realize they're in the yard office. Dr. Kent's office is in the yard office. I had the reputation of being the most dangerous man in Central Unit. That's what they really thought. I think it's pretty funny in a way. But I realize it's only because I did my job. And if an inmate turned to me and needed help, even for another inmate, I did my job. If I had an inmate that was going to be a danger to the staff, to my staff out there, security staff, oh, hell no. I'm not going to let that go by. I'd go toe-to-toe, right up in the captain's face. Why'd you put that man on watch? And then I would explain to him, the inmate is on the wrong medications. We don't allow him to have the right medications. The medications that he has cause him to go violent. He doesn't want to assault one of your officers. That's why he asked me to put him on a watch, and he's right. We require him, because of the dumbasses down in the central office, the dumb bitch down there who didn't know her ass from a hole in the ground, who thought she could practice medicine from her office. She wasn't trained in medicine. She was just another dumbass psychologist like I was. He had to go through like 3 different medicines, clinical trials, if you will. We had to experiment on him, and he had to have all failures on all these medicines before he got the expensive stuff, the good stuff. Psych meds and their withdrawal from psych meds not just can be very dangerous, are often very dangerous. Yeah, you live in a in prison country. Actually, this is the most oppressed, the most incarcerated country in the world, and you walk around calling yourself a free jackass, is what you are, and you think it's okay to put the other son of a bitch in prison, and it ain't. You're destroying other families. You've invented things as crimes and made them crimes that are not crimes. And then you catch them up on technicalities and you force them to make statutory pleas so they aren't even defended by their rights in the Constitution. Do you realize what has gone on since about 1964? You didn't just take prayer out of schools, which resulted in a spike in crime. You took common law pleas, constitutional rights out of the courts. And so, as a result, every man you sentenced since then has been in itself a criminal act. And don't get me wrong, some of those guys deserve to be incarcerated. They need to be there for their own benefit. Even the sex offenders. They didn't want to sex offend again, but we'll talk about that another time. I don't really feel like going to that this morning. I think we've covered quite enough, to be honest with you. I love the sound of the rain on my roof. It cost me a lot of money to do that roof. Lifetime warranty, but it did leak one more time and they fixed it. They patched it up. It's holding pretty good. Whoever gets this motorhome is going to be pretty doggone happy. It's got one of the old cast iron block engines, the head and the block. It's one of the last of the good engines. It's got a Banks power pack on it, so it makes about 100 more foot-pounds of torque. So this, compared to most motorhomes, this son of a bitch will get up and move. It's not that fast, really, but I mean, it will move. If you need to get out of the way, and believe it or not, speed is a safety factor. These insurance companies want to tax you for having a car that's capable of going fast. Well, if you can go fast, you can get out of the way fast. And I've done that in my last car. I got out of the way and saved 2 lives, mine and my passenger's life. We'd have both been dead if I hadn't put my foot to the floor and the car just hung. It was like the car read my mind. Yeah, Porsche makes a good car. Too bad it's not reliable, and too bad they got a steel in their parts and stuff. And they could design them much better so they lasted longer. That's one thing I don't like about the Germans, what they've done on some of these cars. That vehicle of mine took $1,500 a month, and that wasn't even enough to keep it on the road properly. That's a turbo for you. And all Porsches are turbos. So, no, I wouldn't buy a new Porsche. I don't really want a turbo. I want normally aspirated. I don't need to go that fast. I don't need to wear my engine out. I don't need the maintenance headaches. It used to be in the original 911s, you spent $750 a year on tuning it up, and that's your cost. But on the turbo, you did twice as much maintenance on it, $1,500 a year to maintain it. I'll take the $750 a year to do the tune-ups over the $1,500, and I'll take my engine lasting 4 times longer. And I'll take my turbos. I only have to maintain turbos. They'll wear out. You may have to replace them a time or two. I had to replace the turbos on my car at 150,000 miles. That required major surgery. They had to take the car apart. 3 giant parts. Had to take the body off. Had to take the separate frame. I mean, they had to tear the damn car down, and it required a lot of floor space. It was the Cayenne. And mine was the heaviest option of any of those cars back then, and it was the heaviest of the modern Porsches. That car was so heavy, it was stable on the road at speed. You would not believe what it was like at about $1.50. Shortly before that, the car lowered itself again, and it wasn't even the manual. They didn't even put it in there. You know, I'm at EVOMS, and I mentioned to the guy, do these things lower themselves again? Because they automatically lowered itself. If you're up in high mode, you go above 19 miles an hour, it drops you down off the tallest mode, the rock climbing mode, the off-road mode. And as you go faster, it drops itself down again. But about $1.44, 42, 45, somewhere around there, she drops down another inch again and sucks down to the road, and it's like you're on rails. You feel like you're connected to the road. You can do whatever the hell you want, and it is an incredible ride. Oh yeah, I nicknamed my car Hitler's Revenge. The Porsche Club of America didn't appreciate that very much. Look, I did it out of cuteness. My dad nicknamed his Toyota Land Rover, I think is what it was. I think that's what it was called, that old thing. Nicknamed it Hirohito's Revenge. Why? Because it was always breaking down, and he had to stuff a lot of money into that beast. Matter of fact, he took my mom out on the tank trails once on Fort Richardson, the tank trails, right? I mean, these things got logs across them, and I mean, it's really not designed for your average vehicle. And it broke down. Well, at least he took Mom out on a date, and they had some quiet time together. He broke down out there in the tank trails. Oh, he cussed that vehicle. So he called it Hirohito's Revenge, because Hirohito, the emperor, was getting his revenge because it cost so damn much. He thought it was a Toyota, and it would be a better off-road vehicle than that expensive, what was it anyway, that became a Dodge bought up. I can't remember the name of it. The neighbors had one. He wanted one, but the Toyota was cheaper. Cost a lot more to maintain. And my car was definitely Hitler's Revenge in several ways. Towards the end of its life, I was spending $1,500 every month, and I was behind on the maintenance, behind on the repairs where I wanted to be. I knew it was coming, and I was saving money, and I was doing it next. So it was like next month I was taking care of it, or 2 months or 3 months sometimes, because some of the repairs were ridiculous. And some of the same things failed, like the rear hatch struts. Porsche, why don't you design a decent set of hatch struts? You can only get about 70,000 miles off those on the Cayenne. And come on, you guys can engineer a better strut than that. And the expansion tank, I had to replace it twice. Those break too after a certain amount of time. And I was looking at the engine and the turbos. I got up to 235,000 miles. I only had a 75,000 miles to go on that pair of turbos. You know what it costs to put a pair of turbos? How much labor's involved? And the price of the parts? Wow. $1,500 a turbo? And they keep going up? Yeah, the old cars are worth a lot of money. But if you're lucky, you basically recover all the money you put into it to keep it on the road. My car was at the bottom of the market when it got totaled. USAA is a lousy company. I get to sue them again here for failure on a claim. So I'm not going to hesitate. I did it before, and I told them. I offered to split the baby with them, and they wouldn't even listen to reason with me. They are horrible people. I mean, it's rude when you will not have a rational conversation and you keep repeating the same lie to make it the truth. Isn't that what the communists do, or is that what we all do? Is that human nature? I don't think so. I miss that car. It was extremely well made, and it was extremely protective. It had steel rock bars on the side, and when the guy T-boned me, he couldn't get inside the cockpit. Those things kept him out, but that accident wrecked me up pretty badly. I didn't get a good settlement on that either. The insurance business is a racket like everything else in the nation. It started from the strong arm tradition. You've heard of the Sheriff of Nottingham and Robin Hood? Well, the Sheriff of Nottingham was a protection racket, and they would collect taxes, if you will. So you got to pay me, or I'm going to go put a brick through your window like the mob would do. Or I'm going to go kill your ass or burn your building down like the mob would do. It comes out of the protection racket. Oh, you don't want to insure your ship. Oh, yes, okay, well, okay. And then in the back room, they would tell their pirate buddies, go get this ship. They aren't insured. Teach them a lesson. Yeah. Yeah, you need to understand that they were called privateers because they were working supposedly independently, but they weren't independent all along. They were in the pocket of the insurance companies. Talk about a racket. Lloyd's of London, what a racket. It's corruptible, it's corrupting, it's very corrupt at this point. The government here in the United States of America is waging war against the people. They spray us like cockroaches with pesticides, if you will. Who the hell knows what they are spraying us with up there? Yes, good girl. Oh, the rain just picked up. And her name is Lorraine, which has got rain in it, so I don't know if she gets that confusion or not. I'm not going to nickname her Rain anyway. Lorraine, such a sweet girl, yes. My back hurts. I'd like to get another rig. One that I could buy a chair that's proper for my back and sit in it. I like this little rig. It's really nice. My parents bought it. So they bought it used with 24,000 miles on it or something like that. And I think they got it out of Florida. They picked it out, flew down to Florida and got it. And they loved it. They traveled in it and lived in it for quite a while. Runs on gas. If you can put regular gas in this without ethanol, you can get about 2 more miles to the gallon out of it. Actually, maybe even 4 more miles to the gallon. There's that much energy more in real gasoline, pure gasoline. It also burns cleaner. It pollutes less than this bullshit that Al Gore stuck you with. Yes, it was Al Gore. He was the tie-casting vote in the Senate on that piece of corruption the senators shoved our way. They gave us this horrible law that you have to burn a food product in your gas tank. Is that moral? I ask you, is that moral? I mean, is it moral to take a food product and divert it from the market, the world market where people need food to survive and eat, and somebody's starving around the planet all the time? Is it moral to divert that into our damn gas tanks and shorten the lives on our engines, make things run worse, cause more air pollution, result in less power, less mileage, shorter engine life, hell on small motors? Even it was bad on the rubber and the damn parts in the cars. Even my Porsche had to replace the damn fuel lines on it because of the damn corn ethanol. Well, everything this government turns to, you know what, it stinks to high heaven. We need to roll it back like they do the prices in Walmart. Let's roll it back. And we don't have to argue about it much. Let's roll back whatever they created most recently and just go backwards from there. We can get rid of all of these agencies that are doing all this damage to the rest of us. We can get rid of the CIA. We can get rid of the FBI. We can get rid of the DOJ, since there is no justice. And that hook-nosed you-know-who at the head of it, Merrick Garland, that son of a bitch belongs in prison. You know, maybe even we should get him in one of those portable swings. Yeah. High treason. Comey, he deserves it. Ray is still in power in an office, and he's over there violating our sovereignty with the World Economic Forum. That's treason. Why is he allowed to do that? He's probably getting paid while he's doing it too. Why are we paying him to do that? The boy ought to be recalled. He ought to be put in handcuffs, and he ought to be tried for his crimes. We've created such a monstrosity, such a mess. I don't see any way out of it, except one. And in case you don't want to do it now, I assure you, I'll put it in writing. I guarantee you that it's going to get a lot worse unless you do the one thing that you have to do. If you fail to turn to Yahweh, you're screwed. We're screwed. And I'm suffering with the rest of you because you dumbasses are going to get us in a nuclear war. That war over there was started by the United States of America against Russia. Who started it? The most dangerous man in the world today, Barack Insane Obama, started that with John Brennan, the Muslim convert who wants to wage war, a jihad against Christians. If you don't watch out, it's all going to get bombed, and God's going to sort it out. Yep, let's bomb the son of a bitches and let God sort them out. We used to say that very flippantly. You need to realize Yahweh's all ready to do that. It's already in his Bible there. Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighbors. That's what we've become today. We do horrible things to each other. We do horrible things to our neighbors across the planet. And he's about done with us. I might be the only word of warning you've got coming at this point. Yes, I know you've got the big mouth. Beautiful girl. Such a beautiful puppy dog. Yes. Such a pretty girl. Yes. She sucks it up. No teeth. No teeth. She's a real mouthy bitch. She was mouthy when I got her. It's like a human being. Mouthy when they start out. They got to put everything in their mouths. Real sensitive area. We're getting some manners, huh? So instantly I want her to cover those teeth up the instant I say that. Like my last dog. You know, they need to be able to put their weapons in their holsters when you tell them. I do need you to like my videos. I want you to share my videos. You know, I realize to a lot of you I'm just a crotchety old fart, an old man over there. You know, what's he doing? Making videos. And I've had a lot of you call me grandpa. Well, I'm not a grandpa. Wouldn't mind being a grandpa, but it wasn't the fate for me. It wasn't in the cards for me. It was not. If Yahweh wanted me to have a wife, he'd have issued me one. Just like if the United States Army wanted me to have a wife, they'd have issued me one. Whatever. Government issue. There was a woman in Florida that I really loved watching on television, and she was funny. She'd sit there, and she was watching the television, and they would film her, and they would come up with questions for her. And she would have all kinds of advice that she would deliver in a very innocent manner, and some of it was pretty raw, yet guarded, and it was good advice. And the best time I ever had was when some other woman asked her about voting, and she says, good Lord, child, you're going to ask a woman from Florida how to vote? Because of the hanging chads back then, when Al Gore didn't make president. What a choice. Al Gore, between that son of a bitch, that war criminal that runs around the planet free today, is protected in the state of Texas. My God, if I was president, I'd pick his ass up and hand it over to the Iraqis and say, here, you deal with him as you see fit. Yeah, I would. And then as far as the people over there, as far as Putin goes, I'd be handing him this guy, Anthony Blinken, who practices pipeline diplomacy. He wrote a book about blowing up pipelines in the last century, and he blows up pipelines now in this century. Yeah, I'd hand him over to Putin and beg for, please, peace, Mr. Putin. Here, take this as a token, as a gesture, and let us know what you got. I want to know what he has. He said he had reason for that incursion, which has become a war, in which we are bound to make a nuclear war out of this one. It is pretty much World War III. I see U.S. troops have been in there the whole damn time. There's no hiding it. Barack Obama and his administration overthrew a duly elected president, a government, in the Ukraine in 2014. And Angela Merkel signed a doggone peace treaty, and she didn't intend for there to be peace at all. They were planning that war together. And you need to understand something. They're both grandchildren of Adolf Hitler. So when you people want to know who are the Nazis in Washington, D.C., you also had Theresa May, was another granddaughter of Adolf Hitler. That's what I believe. And there's one more. I guess she's in the Netherlands. And she's in power. Still in power, perhaps. What a deal. But I like, my favorite rumor of all is that your boy, oh, I can't say that because you'll think I'm a racist now. Barack Insane Obama may be the clone of the Pharaoh Akhenaten, which I guess is the bigwig for the Masons and maybe others. I don't know. I don't partake in that stuff. Guess I'm going to have to go read up about Akhenaten. And by the way, Akhenaten's wife, they found that mummy. It was well preserved. We still can't do the mummification thing to people today. That's how advanced they were. And Akhenaten's wife had a peculiar name. And guess what? An uncanny resemblance with Michael, whatever his last name was, Obama, Michelle Obama. And then Akhenaten and his wife had 2 daughters. Pharaoh had 2 princesses back then. That's getting a little too creepy for me. All right, we're over an hour. This show is over. I think you're number 29. My mother's favorite number. She was 29 for the longest time. She decided she was going to be 29, and I know that went well into her 40s. I miss my mom. Y'all take care. Yahweh bless the Republic. Yahweh restore the Republic. And Yahweh bless America.